snap.
What's up, everybody? Back with another episode of the Youth Ministry Booster Podcast, hanging out at Etch Conference 2024. My name is Zach, and I'm joined by Zach.
Also Zach. Zach with an H.
Forget Zach and Chad. It's double the Zach, double the fun. Yeah,
Zach squared.
Yeah. Zach squared. I'll add the H back in just for
Big
today.
bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Z-A-C-H.
That's right.
Mr. Burke, what's up, buddy? We're here at Etch.
We are at Etch Conference, Nashville 2024.
Neither one of us live here, but we're here.
We don't. We traveled long ways to get here together, man.
To hang out together. You know,
Yeah.
I traveled, you traveled to be here. All these other people are great, but you. I'm here for you.
Oh,
I'm here
man,
for you.
I appreciate that. You did bring me here, so I appreciate that you said that.
Well, dude, I'm excited to have you. Longtime youth ministry friend, youth ministry booster member. Now from Kentucky to Florida, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yep.
That's got, I mean, to go from no ocean to so much ocean. I mean,
We say it more like to go from seasons to hot.
Oh, okay.
We have hot summer and
missed the
hotter
cold
summer.
yet? You missed the cold?
A little bit. Being back in the...
sold all his coats.
Every one of them, including our kids.
He had to go buy long pants for this week. Or
I did,
whatever.
actually, yeah. Flip-flops and sandals are office.
Oh, dude, I love it. I love it so much. Man, you're here. We're excited. We're talking about some ministry settings.
Yeah.
Context is a word that everybody likes to use. Context. Tell me your context.
Yeah.
So I need you to help us out a little bit, though. Chad's not here. God bless him wherever he's at or whatever. What context do you think that he's in while he's gone? I mean, we wanted him here. He's not here. Like, what is Chad Higgins' current context?
Current context?
Where's he at?
Definitely hanging around the booths, trying to get as much free stuff as he can.
Oh, is he the kind of guy that brings his own bag to fill with freebie stuff, or is he like hoping that like one of the booths?
No, he's
will
bringing
have
his
a
own
bag?
stuff. Chad, if you're watching, you have a problem.
You have a problem. It's just free stuff, man. Like, you can't have all of it.
We're here because we love you.
Yeah.
We each wrote you a letter.
We're gonna help carry your bags later.
Yeah.
Well, dude, speaking of carrying the bag, for some of our folks, this is the most important part of the conversation. We're friends of youth ministry, both dads, both glad to be here at Etch. But we're talking about WWE.
Yeah. So this is a big moment for me.
Pro wrestling.
This is
for
a big
folks.
moment for me. This was a secret love of mine that I did not talk much about. And
it's like a confessional moment?
It's a confessional moment.
Okay.
Because
Telling the world.
I grew up with it, but it does have some of the assumptions about it.
Okay, sure.
And so I'm like, I watched it on the low.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, I'm proud. I'm out and I'm proud.
Hey, I don't care if it's fake. It's fun. You know what? So it's ministry.
It is.
Yeah.
Don't tell them it's fake. They'll beat you up.
They're hurting every week. I want to know, for the folks, just to go ahead and like either unite the room or divide the room.
Ooh.
What is your like pro wrestling Mount Rushmore? It's a conversation that every true wrestling fan goes through. Like, what are your folks? And if you need to add a fifth one, or if you can't decide, it's okay. But like, who are the ones that you're like these for you personally, not the best of all time?
Okay.
That's too objective.
Yeah.
Like for you subjectively, like who are your like four that matter the most?
Yeah. So I will say there's no Hogan, there's no Rock, there's no Stone Cold for me.
Wow. You
Just gonna put it out there.
well, the listener base has shrunk, but the conversation continues.
So I grew up into the Attitude Era, into the Ruthless Aggression.
Okay. Now you're just dating
So
yourself.
I remember the episode with Cena coming out and smacking Angle. I was watching that.
Yeah, with a fist.
We also didn't have cable growing up, so I could only ever watch SmackDown.
Okay.
And
on
Raw,
free TV.
I could only watch the like recaps
The
of Raw.
recaps, okay.
So I would say...
So a SmackDown kid in the 2010s.
That's right. So John Cena, but specifically...
Young Cena.
Doctor of Thugonomics John Cena.
No!
Word life.
Word life.
So here's a wild fact about me. So I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky.
Yes,
where
okay.
OVW is.
Yeah,
How about wrestling? And I was in Louisville.
An important like for folks on the come up. Like that's an important stop.
So Cena, Orton, Batista, all those guys were in those
the evolution. Like, so you are the evolution.
While I was there, and I remember Brock Lesnar. We'd go to Kentucky Kingdom and watch it.
Yeah.
One of my friends had an armband from Cena. We wore it as a headband. So
his arms are huge.
Yeah. So Cena, but specifically Doctor of Thugonomics.
Okay.
Probably Randy Orton.
He's great. And he's still got more to give.
Legend killer Randy Orton was really good.
Yeah. That was fun.
This is where it's going to get weird for me because I have a fourth one, but I'll just go with it. Rey Mysterio.
Dude, Ray's great.
I loved Ray. I resonated
King of
with like
Lucha.
the resonated with the underdog.
Yeah.
When he won that title.
Right.
So there's a
hard earned, well earned. Yeah, deserve it. Yeah.
So looking back, I'm gonna do a tag team.
You gonna pick a team?
Can I put a tag team?
You can put a tag team. Yeah.
Hardy Boys.
Hardy Boys,
Matt
my
and
man.
Jeff.
Okay, dude.
Matt and
dude,
Jeff. I wanted to be a Hardy
You
Boy.
were such a slice of time. Like that
Yeah.
is like you are literally a CM Punk away from being a certain era of a fan. Like that is you just have decaded yourself in a perfect way.
I wandered away a little bit
Okay.
when Punk first kind of came in,
Okay.
but I remember the pipe bomb.
Yeah, you were there for it.
But I remember the WrestleMania that really got me back into it was. Well, actually, I got back into it because of a student thing.
Okay.
I had a student that did not like me.
Yeah.
We can talk more about this.
Okay. Wow.
He did not like when I got to the church I was at, and then I learned he liked wrestling, so I started watching SmackDown again. And the next week I said his name was also Zach. Shout out Zach Mosley if you're watching.
Strong names all around.
I said, hey, Zach, tell me what you think about that Randy Orton match last night.
Oh.
And all of a sudden,
Won
the
him
walls
over?
came down. This kid and I. It was our thing.
besties.
We talked about it all the time.
Okay.
My wife was not a fan. I subscribed to the WWE network,
Yeah.
wrote it off as a business expense.
Oh. We'll see. Wow.
And
True confessions.
So there was that WrestleMania where they brought the Hardy Boys back.
Yeah.
Remember that
one?
one?
Of many times, but yes. Yeah.
The most recent one.
Jeff loves a good comeback
When they
story.
won
Yeah.
when they won the titles again.
Yes.
And the New Day was hosting. I audibly got off of the couch.
Yeah. Okay.
That was probably the only time I've ever been that excited.
Okay.
In my
So
adult
good.
life.
So good. No, man, it has that effect. Like I say, so I got back into it, grew up on it, got back into it because of my boys. And
Right.
it's like one of those, like, to see it through a father's lens. It's a different eye now, but just to watch them, like, my 7-year-old blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy, like, his heroes
Is Cody Rhodes.
are Erling Haaland for soccer and Cody Rhodes.
Cody Rhodes.
Because Cody, and it's one of those, as a dad, Cody Rhodes always does right. He's the good. I mean, he's like in WWE. He's the good one.
He's the face.
He's the face. He's the white meat baby face, as the fans say.
Yeah.
And it's fun to cheer together. When he comes out and he goes, "Whoa!" We all hit the whoa.
We hit the
man.
whoa.
We're ready.
Not the whoa.
Not the
but
not the,
whoa.
the arms out. But it's one of those things, and there's others. But in youth ministry, looking for those opportunities of high interest, low stakes.
Yep.
Right, like this is it's the Marvel, it's the sports, it's the DC, it's the like you want something that kids are super passionate about, and you could have a super strong opinion about. But at the end of the day, if you do or don't like the Undertaker, it's fine.
Who cares?
It's fine. But it's a talking point, and I think student ministry sometimes like we can lose the importance of that because we want them engaged. And there's something about, so for your Zach Mosley, shout out, buddy, that like he came alive because it was something he cared deeply about.
It was, yeah.
There's something connective with that because sometimes in ministry we're wanting them to be engaged, and we're like, can they be engaged? Like, I mean, youth ministry has been a conversation for a while. Like, are kids today apathetic? I don't think so. I just don't think we've been able to find the right buttons to see what like literally hits the alert of like, oh my gosh, like our relationship's different now.
Well, there's that old whatever of like nobody cares how much you know, they know how much you care.
That's right.
And you're like, we hear that all the time. Well, there's a reason you hear it all the time because it's true.
It's true, and we forget it, and we got to say it again and again. But man, tell me a little more about you. How did you end up in student ministry?
So I started in student ministry.
Clearly, you enjoy it, but like how? I mean, there's other stuff you could have done.
I could have done some. I was going to be a lawyer at one point.
Okay.
Wanted to be a sports broadcaster.
Okay.
A rapper.
Yeah, word.
Dr. Thugonomics.
He's your
John
guy.
Cena.
He's your guy.
Was my man. So it's wild.
He does it all.
I'll answer your question, but I just wanted to point this out. There's a generation of people that don't know John Cena has a rap album.
A full one.
A full.
Look it up.
And
We'll
what's
drop it in the show notes.
crazy about
Look it
the
up.
John Cena rap album? It's not that bad. Like it's got some.
I don't know. If this is really a music podcast
Anyway,
for a sensing point.
maybe another day.
Hey, you like what you like.
Lifeway Worship, hit me up. We'll have this argument. So I started. I grew up and I came to faith in middle school. Was in a small student ministry, and we got a new student pastor towards the end of my senior year, and he saw something in me that I don't think others. I think others did. They may just not have said anything. And I remember
he spoke
it, and started giving me some opportunities to lead and to do some things. And I remember thinking, man, this is a lot of fun. I like doing this. And then the opportunity came up to move to Bradenton, Florida, which is like right outside Sarasota, right on the beach. Actually, Anna Maria Island.
Beach life?
Very beautiful. about as close to beach life without living on the beach as you can get, right? Like flip-flops and shorts were the church attire there.
Oh, yeah.
For
no
sure.
judgment. Like,
no judgment. Like, you wore flip-flops.
Yeah, Jenny Buffett. Yeah.
And so that was my first like internship, like real internship, and I just fell in love with students coming to know faith, getting to do like these big things in the ministry world that seem so small, but like going to a basketball game and seeing the kids smile because you showed up.
Yeah.
Like, man, I needed that as a teenager, and I had guys in my life which has been fun to come to Etch and see some of those guys.
Yeah.
Who showed up when others didn't.
Yeah.
Right. And so that was kind of what formulated that start in student ministry for me. And so was in Bradenton for about 2 years doing my undergrad.
Beach Reach.
Beach Reach on White Ave Beach in Anna Maria. And then got the chance to leave there and go to a church right outside of Nashville in Hendersonville.
Okay.
Worked at Long Hollow for a season in their middle school ministry with John Steen, who is one of my heroes in the faith.
Yeah.
And
we always want to shout out a mentor.
Shout out to the mentors, man. I got so many. Jacob Dunn.
Yeah, man.
John Steen.
Speak their name. Yeah.
So many. And got to do that for a season. Met my wife here in Nashville. And then we left this mega church and landed in rural Kentucky in a farm church in Owensboro. And it was night and day difference of church world, right? And so got to go there, and then we landed in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, right outside of military base. And then now I'm in DeLand, Florida, not doing student ministry.
Adjacent. You're adjacent.
I'm adjacent.
We have folks that are on here that are youth ministry, either veteran or adjacent. Totally fine. Yeah.
So
still your passion.
Doing discipleship. Don't tell my pastor.
There you go.
But doing discipleship ministry, overseeing our family ministry team.
So that's one thing that I wanted to talk to you about. So I'm excited for your new role, and we've had great conversations about there is some more trends for, glimpsing the big picture at doing youth ministry, especially if you're not the youth minister. A lot of folks still the youth ministers at churches, but some of that shifting in the ways in which those touches, like there's people that are overseeing others that are doing the work, the important work. But the thing that you bring is really unique experience that I wanted folks to hear about is that you have served in a variety of contexts, man. Like literally both geographically, church size, and a variety of roles. So like what are the things if you want to go stop by stop or just kind of give us some different like funnels, like what are the ways in which you think about or research, identify, or do ministry differently because of the context? Because I think some folks, they're in their context and they're like ascribing things to their context. Like, well, in my context, we do this, but brother, you've been everywhere, man. So like,
I've been everywhere, man.
Tell us like how you maybe at first didn't and then did, but like context by context, give us some insight of just your process and some of the practices that were different.
Yeah, that's a really great question. So, I started in the church I got saved in.
Okay.
And worked with Jacob Dunn.
Yeah. So home church. So
home church.
Context number one, serving in your home church.
As a senior in high school, going into my first year of college, was just a goofball. And I was trying to figure that out. And I actually didn't do a very long student ministry internship. I went to children's ministry. And so here's what I learned there. I'm not called to be a children's pastor, is what I learned in that context. So
sometimes you learn what you do by learning what you don't do.
No, I loved my time there. So I actually got to see the children's ministry I worked under for the first time in 10 years here at this conference. That was really cool. So that was interesting because my siblings were in the ministry. My family was in the church. I grew up there, so people knew who I was, and they had the pressure of I got to be a good.
Yeah.
At the same time, I was trying to figure out really who I was as a person and developing my faith and growing in my faith and all these things. And so that was there. That was probably my short.
You feel like you got extra trust or grace because of it, or extra scrutiny? looking back, I mean, it's been a minute, and obviously you probably would do things differently.
Yeah.
What were some of the ups and the downs from that?
So,
or maybe wisdom you'd give about ups and downs for folks that are literally serving in their home church. Because there's more and more folks that are doing that.
Yeah, and it was a campus, so there was that whole that whole
uniqueness.
But it was I think I was given a lot of extra grace. And I
savor the grace when you get it.
That's right. I went through some pretty big growth moments in that church. In the ministry field of like, if you are called to ministry, the above reproach thing is real. And so if you're going to be a knucklehead outside of the building, you can't be a leader inside the building. And growing up in a tougher environment, some struggles, and it was just like the joke I make now, probably shouldn't joke about it, but I deal with humor because I'm a millennial, and that's what we do.
I get it. Laugh through the pain.
Laugh through the pain.
If I wasn't laughing, I'd be crying.
We laugh to keep from crying. It was this old habits die hard. And I was so unsure of who I wanted to be as a person. And there's a guy, he is in ministry now. He was not in full-time ministry then. His name is Jody Brummett. He was our tech guy. And I ran Pro Presenter every week for our church, or the equivalent of Pro Presenter. And I can remember on Wednesday nights sitting in the sound booth with him, just talking about life. Like, Jody, I don't understand why this is happening. I don't understand why this is happening. And I remember him saying, it's because of the decisions you're making, and just the grace that he was able to show. And like, he could have yelled at me and you're a knucklehead, all the things. Instead was, man, how can God use this to grow you? Right? And so I think there it was, I was blessed that was there some scrutiny? Sure. But I also was very blessed that people knew my family. And I think that they saw something in me I didn't see. And I think that was huge.
Love it.
And so that was there. And then we got to Bradenton.
So context number one, home church.
Campus.
Beach church.
Vibey church. So also,
a little bit out of your element.
Yeah, right? So home church would be lower income, suburban, if like that kind of environment. Mostly lower income.
But again, Kentucky to Florida. So
Bradenton, Sarasota was upper middle class and up.
Beach resort maybe almost.
Sometimes. We weren't that close. Don't want to pay too
in the
big
summer.
But I got to work with two guys there, Aaron Sherrill and Sammy Duran, that I loved. I learned so much from. Aaron was an intern at my home church, and that's how I met him. And learned a lot from them. I learned how to prepare a message. I learned that was kind of that cutting the teeth of. They let me plan an event. Your typical internship, right? Plan an event. Was going to school lunches, and I got to see the value of that. I got to help lead a leadership team. I got to cut my teeth teaching there. I actually found the old Vimeo. This is how old it is. Vimeo page of our student ministry, and I watched one of my first sermons, and I went, who in the world keeps letting me teach?
What'd you preach on?
I want to say it was in Ephesians. And I'm pretty sure it was on like the our identity and like getting closer to the edge of sin, and it was I do
bold
remember
theological concepts.
I do remember the series was called Get Her Done.
Sure.
This was like
slice of time. You are a time capsule, my friend.
This was peak Duck Dynasty. And they crossed barriers. So, and that church was interesting because we did have some of that upper middle class, wealthier. We did have some lower income families too, and so. But there was that I learned the beauty of enjoying where you're at. And there was a season.
Let it be what it is.
There was a season where I was on the church maintenance team. And I remember, working on the church maintenance team, cleaning bathrooms, going, I can't believe I moved my entire life down here, and I'm cleaning a toilet. Why would God ask me to do this? And I could remember, like, in that frustration, God being like, but if you won't clean a toilet, why would I let you do anything else?
So a season of humility at the beach.
A little bit, absolutely. Humble. I walked in there thinking I had all my stuff together, that I knew everything, and it was... I think I'd been there a week, and they had to sit me down and go, hey, man, we got to talk. I just was so rough around the edges and was growing. They were very gracious, very patient. I still talk to Aaron quite often. And,
so what drew that season to an end? What got you from there somewhere else?
So it kind of got to that point of, all right, I want to do this full time. It's time to move on, kind of take that next step. And A mutual friend of mine connected me to a church in Hendersonville, Long Hollow.
So
from
Florida to Tennessee
to Hendersonville,
to
Tennessee,
a large church, multi-campus, main campus.
I was at their Hendersonville campus, and when I got to Long Hollow, I think there was 5 campuses total.
Okay,
it was in the transition before Robbie Gallaty got there.
Okay,
I got to work with a great team.
Yeah,
specifically, I worked middle school ministry specific.
Yeah,
with a guy named John Steen, who, man, he did my wedding.
He's your guy.
Love that guy.
Yeah,
and what I loved about that was the beauty of teamwork in student ministry.
Okay.
Because we sat together every week. We sermon prep together. We event planned together. Like, it was a cool experience.
You did not do it alone. Like, you literally did. Some of that helps because you had some staff folks.
Yeah, it was built in.
But the lesson of not doing almost anything alone.
Right, nothing alone. You don't go to lunch alone. You minister together
in community for the community.
Exactly.
Okay.
And
that's a good.
And to see it done at the scale it was overwhelming for me, because I didn't grow up in that way. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
And I was actually talking to somebody a little bit ago, talking about, like, I learned so much just sitting in a room next to some of these guys and these girls,
just watching them
do their thing.
Process. Yeah.
It was when I got there, the best piece of advice I got came from another mentor, Jacob, and he said, "Be a sponge." Soak everything up.
Soak it up,
and so
don't try to figure it out too quick.
No,
just let it happen.
Yeah.
And
John Steen was very good. He trusted me to do some things that I don't think I would have trusted me to do.
Okay,
of like, hey, I want you to
saw a little something in you.
Yeah, I want you to develop and implement this, like, service, the student leadership team, and got to do that. And even, like, as far as, like, the high school pastor was one of the first people to ever sit down and help me make a budget. Like, little things like that just went so far. And seeing the beauty of, like, man, surrounding yourself with people that don't have the same talents and giftings as you is such an important leadership.
Well, and I think for everybody that has the opportunity to, wherever you're at now, again, serve where you're serving faithfully, but the chance to trust some of the system of the church, especially if it's a church that has a lot of processes or teams or layers, like, 100%. Ask the questions, learn, but man, they may teach you a way to do it that wasn't just what you discovered.
Yes.
Like this,
yes.
For some folks that I know in ministry that are like ready to go, eager and willing and big effort, like, well, I'll just figure it out always.
Yeah.
Man, they may have already figured it out in a really great way.
Yeah.
And you may get to just really savor the thing that they figured out, especially if it's like not an area of strength for you.
Right. Well, and it's that beauty of, if they've already figured something else out, right? If they've already got this thing done, that's one less thing I have to do that I could build relationship capital with other people.
Yeah.
Because you can't do anything without that anyway. Not well. You can, but not well, right?
Longer. It takes longer.
Yeah. It's, you got to. It's. Let's go back to WWE for a second.
Yeah.
Right. The storylines that mean the most to us
took a while.
They took so long to tell. You think of Cody and the Roman story.
Oh, dude, that was years in the making.
So long.
There was literally a whole year that we doubted it.
We did.
For a year, we're like, this was the wrong choice.
And then it was like, what a beautiful payoff.
And then it was the most right choice for my money that they had made in a decade.
A long time.
Like literally for a year, we were like, dumb.
Yeah.
Why would they ever?
PG era, trash.
Yeah, this is not, like, regret.
Yeah.
And then 11 months later, we were like,
boom.
Actually, dadgum, that was great.
So when you spend that time not trying to fix a not broken system.
Yeah.
And learning the way it's already being done.
And why it's there.
And why it's done that way, it allows you a space to build relationship.
So again,
trust you, and
and that may be a large church. It may just be a little bit larger church than where you're at. But I think learning those things and identifying that, like, some of those things are in place for a reason. Man, there are a lot of things when it comes to protocol and safety and organization and budget that are meant to be guardrails to help you and not hinder you. And I think identifying those and maybe in some ways finding ways to celebrate them. But you weren't there forever. You ended up. That's where I met you. You were in Elizabethtown.
No,
Kentucky.
There was a stop before that.
Stop before that. Pit stop? Okay.
But Hendersonville holds a special place because I met my wife there.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay.
If you're ever going to ask me my favorite stop,
that
one wins.
Okay.
I got my wife.
Okay.
No. So from there, I actually went to Owensboro, Kentucky.
Okay.
So that was my first.
So stopped in Tennessee to find a wife.
Basically, that's what I told people. My first.
There's a lot of people that come to Nashville to find a spouse, or about because they've already found one. Hard to say. Hard to say.
So my first full time I'm the guy ministry space was right after that in Owensboro.
Okay.
And it was a smaller, rural, town.
Okay, so you went from being on the team to being the guy?
The guy.
So what was that? What are you learning there?
I learned a lot of things.
Okay.
But I think the most important thing I learned was just because it worked over there doesn't mean it's going to work over here.
Yeah.
And I had the benefit of working, John.
Copy paste is not. Copy paste is not contextualized.
Copy and paste is not. You can copy and paste. It's better to copy and paste and match the style.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah.
And so there were elements of what we
did.
These
fonts aren't the same.
Yeah, there were elements of what we did at Long Hollow that did translate well. Taking popsicles to practice.
Yeah.
Leader meetings like
having a budget.
Having a budget. The basic things.
All good things. Yeah.
But like wanting to come in and run that ministry of 9 kids, the way we ran a ministry of 300. My first week was, I almost burned a bridge with a volunteer because I tried to make a big decision without consulting anybody. I almost lost. It just was one of those things that like I went in so guns a blazing at such a young age thinking I had all these answers. And what I look back on and go is like, I can't believe they put up with me. Right? Like, and I can't believe that God still blessed it.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking there was a season of why would I leave where I was for this? Because I think sometimes unfairly we paint the big churches where everybody wants to be, and that's when you're successful.
Yeah.
But there is this beauty of small,
the legacy of faith.
The legacy. And like, man, I learned I can do stuff with 15 students I can't do with 200.
There's a flexibility.
I can know everybody's name.
Yeah.
And in student ministry, you know a kid's name?
Yeah. That's power.
Changes their life.
It does. You talk about some of the things that are entrees to relational discipleship.
Yes.
It starts with being known.
Yeah.
Again, you can be known in a larger church, but maybe not by your youth pastor.
Right. It's the value of small group leaders, all the things that
all the things that you would learn there.
Yes. And I learned in Owensboro the value of a good adult team too, because I was solo.
Yeah.
I was by myself.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I can't go to every game. I can't be at every small group thing. And so I learned the beauty of building a team around me of good volunteers. And I love that I'm actually friends with the guy that replaced me. When I left, he came in.
That's cool.
And him and I, we're friends. Shout out Ben Fitzgerald.
Ben. Be loved.
So, and then from there went to Elizabethtown.
Okay.
Which was a very legacy church.
Yes.
That church is older than the Commonwealth of Kentucky.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Real old.
Yes.
One of the first pastors was scalped by Indians.
Oh, okay.
Like real story.
Yeah.
And so really it's got the like historical monument thing outside of the original building in downtown E-Town. And that was a unique experience coming in to such a regionally known church of kind of this in-between size-wise.
A lot of furniture came with the house.
It did. And it was in between size-wise of Long Hollow and Owensboro. Yeah. But what was so unique about that was, man, we were 10, 15, 20 minutes south of an active military base.
Okay.
And so the military had a huge presence in our church.
Yeah.
The kids ministry, the student ministry,
military families on the life cycle that they are of coming in and out.
Which is interesting because they show up at your front door and they're like, so what can I do?
Yeah.
They
ready to go.
They want to go.
But maybe only there for a few years. Was there a lot of that?
Yes. It would be weird, right? You'd have a kid come to your ministry and you'd see him all the time. And then like one day he's just not there anymore. And you start asking like a friend, like, hey, where did Johnny go? Oh, Johnny's dad got moved to Oregon.
Yeah.
And you're like, when? They were like, yesterday.
Yeah.
Is he going to come back? We don't know. It's like that was a real.
Some families would leave not because they're frustrated, just because
they got told they have to leave. And so it's I began to value the beauty of short-term relationship building.
Okay,
because I realized, man, I could have a relationship with a kid.
Yeah,
military families are such a unique they go through things nobody else does. The stress of my dad or my mom is away and I can't call them.
Yeah.
Like in a world where we're so connected, to be so disconnected from your mom or dad.
Yeah.
The stress of that. And it's not necessarily a new stress, right? Military's been around forever, but the conversations you would have with kids and even spouses of, man, it took me a little bit to learn that.
Yeah.
And then to value, man, they care so much about what they do.
Yeah.
And there is not many places that do community better than military, because they only have each other.
They only have each other. There's a shared struggle. There's a shared calling. There's lots to learn.
And if you can get them to serve as leaders, they're phenomenal.
Well, because they value community rightly.
And
but you may only get it for a few years.
Only for a few years. You got to sign that. You can't make them sign a year-long commitment because they might legally tell you they have to go.
Yeah.
Right? So you go from Long Hollow to small town USA to middle town USA. E-town, everybody's been through E-town. Not many people stop there.
Yeah.
But then that context of that military presence was so, you just learned so much from their family dynamic. And
so what are some of the, now that you've been in all these different places, you're in a new place now.
I am in another new place. I am a nomad.
What are the wisdom questions? Someone's listening and they're like identifying, man, like that sounds like my place. What are some of the key questions as folks are transitioning into new spaces or new roles that like are the right things to ask? You named about like the kind of families that are there, maybe position, maybe the income, maybe the social expectations. Like what are some of the things that you've learned over your travels that will be the questions you continue to ask? Yeah.
So one of the things that I learned to value is, in your first year, your only priority needs to be building relationships.
You're just learning. You're just connecting.
You are not going to be able to change anything.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to fix anything. And if you're going to stay for a while, it's still going to be there next year.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere.
Right.
So if it's not it's not a detrimental, ship is sinking, like try to fix it right away. I don't know how to explain that on a podcast.
It's okay.
I think you're going to have to explain that.
Oh, that's right. We're live here at Etch, and so we got friends walking by. We've had some waves and smiles from folks. But one of our camp mascots is a giant peach.
It was a peach.
And he was shuffling by.
He was.
He had a little bit of a shuffle as he went by.
The peach shuffle.
Yeah.
That's so funny. But I did actually take a picture with him because one of our kids
they love peach, man. They love the peach.
We did Central Kid down in Lake Yale, Florida, and he came back anyway. So I think it's that. So I try whenever I talk to a guy that's moving or transitioning.
Yeah.
I've had the privilege of getting to have some guys on my team that have gone on to do like full-time ministry and kind of stuff. And my parting gift to them is always a year's worth of curriculum that I've written.
Yeah.
I say, use this however you want. You can use every bit of it. You can use none of it. I don't care. But I tell them when I give it to them, this is to give you space.
Yeah.
To take your leaders to coffee.
Yep.
To get to know your staff.
You don't have to guess what you're going to do next.
No.
Because the work you're about is the relational work.
You need to tweak it.
Sure. Make it yours.
You got to make it yours. And so I think the most important thing is, regardless of your context, you can't do anything without relationships. And I think the other side of that is understanding your context is your context because you're there.
Yeah.
And there is no, this is better than that because it's that. And I had a guy, there was a guy, I went to a camp one time and he asked what church was at. I told him, he was like, oh, man, if I just had your resources, if I just had your budget. And I'm like, one, you don't know my budget.
Yeah.
You don't know my resources. Right? Like, I think we get caught in this trap.
Sometimes size of church does not always fully indicative of flexibility, resourcing, or investment.
No.
Sometimes it's not what you think.
Yeah, and you look at it.
At every level, at every stop. Yeah.
You look at it and that you assume those things. But it's like, and I told him, I said, man, but you're assuming that I don't have the same type of problems that you have.
Yeah, yeah.
And so there's this beauty of when you can just sit around a table and just be student pastors together and learning the bigger church down the street isn't just trying to take my kids.
Yeah, yeah.
the bigger church down my street might just be a friend that you can get coffee with once a week and hang out and pray together and work together for the kingdom. And so your context matters because you're there, not because somebody might put you on Instagram or you end up on a couch at a conference, right? It's not that. It's God. One of my favorite books is Nehemiah. Yeah. And there's that part of Nehemiah where
it's all really well built. It's a well built.
Yeah, really. I see what you did there. It's hey, just stay on the wall. Yeah, yeah. Quit worrying about the other junk. Yep. And stay on the wall.
And that is something that, again, you can't know until you're there enough to research, and you can't research unless you're willing to remain. I think some people are always like one eye here, one eye to what's next.
I will be very transparent in this setting. I struggled with that.
Okay.
It was a constantly what's next
for me. And man, that one of the things, and we've talked about in other episodes, the church that you went to, unless you helped plant it, it was there before you.
It's gonna be there after me.
The prayers, it'll be there after you. And so the question is, in what level of impact positively can I treat fairly for not trying to upset or disrupt for the sake of it, but again, good garden metaphors, good growth, good life cycles. Where are we at? What does it need? Yeah. And I think that caretaking, that nurturing piece comes from a deep level of trying to understand and not just do. Which slows us down and forces us to actually learn, which I think are two of the key critical planks of relationship building.
Yeah, and that was the other thing of Elizabethtown was the longest I'd been somewhere since I left home. Some of that is natural when you look at it of he was he was an intern, he was an associate. Yeah. But what I learned is that the longevity of a stop develops you to do things that I think sometimes we want to come in and do on day one. Right. And it's what if that one thing you want to change is the one thing God wants to use to get you to grow as a leader? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, dude, come on. Yeah.
I remember sitting in my office going, I want to change it. And somebody looked at me and said, why? Well, because it's not my thing. Who cares? Yeah. Your ministry is not yours.
It's not yours, bud.
It's the Lord's, right? Could you imagine if one of the 12 disciples was hey, Jesus, I know you want to do the bread and the fish. What if we did pizza? Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Fish is not really my thing.
Fish isn't my thing.
That's not my thing. That's cool. Fish is not my thing. Yeah.
But that's my favorite miracle of Jesus when he feeds the 5,000 and the 4,000, because that's the miracle where Jesus puts the ministry in the hands of his disciples. Yeah. He says, I'm going to do it, but y'all going to go pick it up. Yeah, you're going to go pass it out. Yeah. And it's he used that one miracle to prepare them for what they were going to do when he was gone. Yeah. And so when he's leaving and he says, my power is with you, go make, take the gospel to the ends of the earth.
They've seen it's true.
They're like, oh, I've done that. Yeah. Right. And so there's this level of the one thing you might just want to change could be the very thing God wants to use you to grow you. And it may still end up changing. Yeah. There was something that I changed at one of my stops that was a legacy event. It was a big deal. And it took 4 years to change it, because I had to make sure I wasn't changing it for the wrong reasons. And I tried to do it in a way that honored the Lord and grew the kingdom.
So good.
And I think when we can step back and immediately step in and go, regardless of my context, the church down the street is not my enemy. Yeah. We're not competing.
Yeah. They're in the same boat I am. Let's learn.
Yeah. Their struggle may be different. Yeah. Their wins may be different. Yeah. But when it comes to this whole, and you're right, context is all over the place. Right. In my context. And I think it's because we don't want to offend people. Yeah. We don't want to be like, well, but if you would just do it this way.
Yeah. With all due respect.
With all due respect, right?
I said with all due respect. I said with all due context.
It's literally the ministry equivalent of bless your heart.
Yeah, it is.
In my context, it's bless your heart. Right.
With my problems.
Yeah.
It's so say with my problems. With my problems.
We're in ministry. You come together, realize that each individual church in your town. Yeah. Is a different context.
It's good.
And so it's what if we stopped caring so much about what worked over there, what worked over here, and we just said, but what if we just work together for Jesus?
That's good.
And I think along the stops, I'm not perfect. I have lots of things that I look back on and go, I can't believe, one, they didn't fire me. Right? Or two, I can't believe I got the opportunity to do that, or to see God do this, and to see what the Lord can do through his people. And now sitting in a chair where I'm not really in the everyday of student ministry, but I'm adjacent, I get to see it. Shout out to Nate Hicks. He's our student associate.
Okay.
Nate, young guy coming in green, watching him learn some of the things that I learned at his age. It's like, man, you got so much. It's going to be so fun for you.
It's fresh eyes.
And so, it's context matters.
Matters.
Your church culture matters.
Matters.
Like you can't change culture.
You can't do ministry a part of it. Like
and it's understanding.
Of it.
Understanding your role as the student pastor is not to change culture.
Yeah.
You are a branch on a tree.
That's right. That's right.
You're running your student ministry like a little church. It's going to burn out real fast.
That's not, again, bless whoever's next.
Yeah. It's and I struggled with that.
Yeah.
But when you could operate in the culture of your church as a branch.
Yeah.
And you could work together with your kids ministry or who, maybe you're the guy doing all of it.
Yeah.
But you
see how the tree fits.
You come in and you go, what if instead of trying to plant a new tree, I water the roots in this one?
That's good. That's good.
And I think when we understand our context well and we focus on where we're at, not where we could be or where we think we want to be, I think that's where the Lord uses us the most.
Well, Zach Burke, dude, long overdue. Thank you for all the countless conversations we've had over the years.
So many.
And all the places you've been. I feel like, again, there's been years of us getting to know each other better. I'm excited for your new chapter now.
Thank you.
You're always a youth pastor at heart.
Always in my heart.
Always in your heart. Always in your heart. So, again, thanks for checking us out. Hanging at Etch 2024. Maybe see you back next year. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
See ya.